It's a benefit of living in town.
Yeah. I just love it. The little arm comes out.
I know.
That's one of my
started that process. Quite such.
It's one of our preschoolers' favorite part. It's Wednesday at school, and they love where everything's going to the trip. The arm is coming out. I know, they love it.
Taking out the papers and returning them. Dr. Shane. Are we ready?
We're good.
Marking reasons on there. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this first meeting for September for the Mount Vernon City Council. I'd first call this meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. And is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Communications. Is there anyone here to speak to any item on the agenda or anything in public or anything in general? If you're talking about something on the agenda, wait until that point comes up in the process of the meeting. Otherwise, if you've got something for just public comment, now's the time to do that.
You just push the button.
Push the button.
Yep, it'll turn green.
It sure did.
Name and address.
Good afternoon, evening, good night. It was my first day back to preschool today. My name is Mandy Mollering. I live at 110 Oak Ridge Drive Southeast in Mount Vernon. Tonight I just wanted to thank each of you for your current work on supporting diversity and inclusion in our town. I am so overjoyed to see all of the different groups that are going to be represented through the flag policy. As a lifelong educator, these are the kind of moments that I seek for both myself and my kids. I tell them to get curious and do some learning. And I'm so excited to do my own personal research and hear stories of others and how their lives have been represented through these flags. In 2016, my family and I moved here to Mount Vernon for a lot of reasons. One, because we bought a house from Lori, and two, because we wanted to open a frozen yogurt shop. That did not work out. However, we did discover a community that was a village for our children, as we have very little family living nearby. I wanted inclusion, acceptance, and welcoming, all the very best parts of living in a small Midwest town. And we got that. I can tell you 100 stories about how the village came together to welcome our kids, to make things possible when it hadn't been done before, and generally just made our family feel like we were super lucky to be living here. Which is why I was so floored by some of what happened earlier this summer. That's just not envy. That's not the way that Mount Vernon as a community acts. We had celebrated the class of 2023 in May, their great success, and the possibilities were just absolutely oozing out of them, to the rousing cheers of their entire town on their parade. But then suddenly it was June, and the same children who had been celebrated were suddenly being insulted. People were angry that we wanted others to know that Mount Vernon, our town, was advocating for inclusion and acceptance. I was so confused because never once had I questioned where MV was on that issue. Heck, gay kids got celebrated all year that year, and so I was just so shocked at what happened in July. I told people that I was losing my footing in the town that I had adopted. But then, all around me, people got loud, and they started using their voices to make sure that my family and those of us who live in here in Mount Vernon knew, we love you, you are awesome, we are your neighbors, we are your people, you are our village. And they rose up to make sure that hate has no place in Mount Vernon. So those are the voices I want to make sure that you all get to hear. These are your actual community members and your neighbors. You are doing very good things. And I'm so happy to live in a place that is willing to fight for the peoples and stories we haven't yet heard. You can love something and know that it can be better. And that's how I feel about Mount Vernon. We know better, we do better, and how to care for others based on their shared experiences means that I can do better as a community to include and advocate for them. I am so happy to be here tonight so that you can hear my voice to say thank you. I have seen what happens inside our children when they are told that they are less than, when they are ridiculed or called names. I pray without ceasing for people to accept my kids, Mount Vernon's kids, Iowa's kids, and to celebrate the gift that they are. Your actions matter, our kids are watching, and you have done something very good for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Mullery. You have now lost your footing. Anybody else here to speak? Public comment time? Otherwise, we will move on to consent agenda. Got 3 items on consent agenda. Does it need to be pulled off or ready to move forward on that?
I would move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Deb. It's moved and seconded to move forward with the approval of the consent agenda. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First resolution for approval is the no parking designations within the city limit. That was put on hold back in June, if I remember correctly. We had a lot of photos attached and letters attached from neighbors.
Do we need to move to take that?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
let's start with thinking about the table, yes.
So I would move, we remove from the table Resolution 6/19/2023B.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for catching that. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so this motion is to get it off the table and start the discussion here. Moved and seconded. Is that a voice vote or is that a resolution vote? That's a vote. That's a voice vote, and eventually we'll do it that way. Resolution vote. So to untable this motion, that's what's on the table. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Now we can start discussing that no parking zone designation. Anything changed from your comments and your,
Nothing's necessarily changed. I just revisited the area to make sure, get you some current pictures of the area, kind of the structure from that standpoint. I know there was concerns about parking along the skate park area. So it definitely defined the location of the parking and the no parking area along B Avenue. I'll try to pull it up here on the screen for you. Hopefully it works better than last time.
The air conditioner's working better
Yeah.
than last.
the minutes reflect that, okay? Craig is happy.
So the area we're talking about, just to acclimate everybody and the public section here, I can actually do another one here so you guys don't have to twist your necks. Perfect. So the area we're discussing is B Avenue from Wolf Lane to 3rd Street. The portion right now on the east side, we have this all fenced or all marked with temporary no parking signs while the football is continuing to play up there like we traditionally have done in the past few years.
And
So
Doug, I'm sorry, are those temporary?
temporary just for the football season.
But are they up just on Friday nights, or are they up?
You know, I think they leave them up during the
Okay.
season, but we don't do anything except for on Friday nights
Sure,
from
yeah.
that standpoint.
Thank you.
Just because that's usually the only time they become an issue from that standpoint. So this whole section right here along 3rd Street is no parking. And then the east side of 3rd Street, or of B Avenue up to right about here is all marked with temporary no parking signs. B Avenue from this driveway right here, Wolf's driveway, to approximately 150 feet. So it's about the north end of the actual skate pad area. So right in that area where my cursor is currently is always no parking all the time. I remember changing that. We changed that before I became chief. I think when there was a lot of construction going on there, we were having larger vehicles having trouble getting through that area if vehicles were parked in that area around the skate park. So I know that change was made then. The rest of it, there's parking on both sides all the way up. We have had requests from citizens to eliminate parking on one side. I reviewed the area, tried to consider the impact to parking by the residents that live in that area, neighborhood and stuff like that. And my recommendation, just solely based on those information and discussion with staff and different things, was to eliminate B Avenue on would be the north, and then the east or the west side as it continues down B Avenue towards the skate park to the stop sign from that standpoint.
So all the way from Wolf to 3rd?
Correct. On the one side. There was mixed reviews on this from all residents. I've included the comments that I received. I haven't received any additional comments beyond our discussions at council meetings or anything from that standpoint, other than the one complaint we received after the last football game, when I forwarded that on to council as well for consideration, and just so you're aware of what people are saying. There is still concern about parking on both sides of the street. There's concerns about parking on both sides of the street in the curve from that standpoint, or any parking in the curve from there. So what I did is went out there, took a picture. I took advantage of an opportunity of a car parked there. We put 2 squad cars there, showing just what it looks like if there's 3 cars trying to traverse through that. I can tell you, I'm having the same conversations again today with the Stonebrook resident, knowing that this is going to transfer over there. We're having the same conversations from that, and just trying to flesh some of that out. So what I did is took in, we kind of threw out a couple other options that we could do there from that standpoint, trying to make sure that there is some parking along the skate park. A lot of times what I see is a lot of this gravel area right over here by the city building, it's on the very bottom of your screen, is often used for parking for people that are utilizing the skate park. And there's occasionally a couple cars over here, but not a lot from that standpoint. And the busy times, the football games, there's always cars parked on the grass and everything else. We can address this however is appropriate. I will tell you that we are more generally lenient on parking issues during events in town, whether that is Cornell football games or events, or our 14 festivals that we have in town, and different things. These issues are the same issues. It doesn't matter what event you call it, whether it's a football game or whatever, people come. And it's going to cause congestion, and as I've warned many Stonebrook, it's going to cause congestion in Stonebrook as well from that. But I think it's important that we as a community and we as a city staff take the opportunity and ensure that we have safe passage for motor vehicles and safe passage for emergency vehicles, especially in these situations, to ensure that they can get through there. This development, as with Stonebrook, the streets are a little wider than they are if you went into the southeast side of town or the northwest side of town in areas from that aspect. So there's more parking availability, and knowing our parking issues that we continually face in Mount Vernon because we live on a hill too. Trying to appease the needs of the people with the traffic flow and everything else while allowing and not being as impactful as we can. So that's really all I've got. I'm definitely happy to answer questions from that standpoint. I know I've sent you a couple different options to look at or what your considerations are, but it's really more of at this point, kind of a consideration for what we think council wants to do in that area with the feedback that you have.
Thank you, Chief Shannon.
Yep.
Any questions, Chief?
I'm missing, or I'm not seeing, my eyes are not resting on the various options. Are they
Okay, scroll
in the
down.
pictures?
Scroll down.
Scroll down, says Paul.
Or
They're
scroll
in the
down.
packet as
Yeah.
original proposal option
Oh.
So
2.
right, go down this one. Option 3.
Gotcha, they're
Yeah.
captioned that way.
Yeah.
Quick, aren't I?
I tried.
Oh, no, we won't day today.
The resolution indicates the
Okay.
original proposal because it has to.
Yeah.
If you want to
Right.
make changes, you can do that, but then the other 2 options are.
Gotcha.
So Deb, is option 3 the one that was referred to in your letter regarding visibility around a curve?
Yes, I
Okay.
would say so,
Okay.
yeah. And that is frankly the most common complaint of people making passage through that area is both sides of that curve, because it's just difficult to see. It's not that 2 cars wouldn't fit, but it's just difficult to see going around that curve. So that's what the people in the hood are referring to, is probably what's on option 3. The other thing that's concerning to me is how clear or not clear the existing signage is in that no parking area, because the sign is 10 feet up the street and it points back that way. So if we could somehow rectify that, I know that's not part of this proposal, but that also.
We have those kind of signs are all over the place. It says no parking here to corner with an arrow pointing from that sign back to
Backwards. Yeah,
3rd Street.
I'm not arguing with that, I'm just
Yeah, I mean,
letting you
it's-
know how confusing that is. But option 3 is definitely what's talked about in the neighborhood. So,
So I have a question about the corner. The first house on the right, right before the bend, has a lot of plantings in the right-of-way. And I'm concerned about the impact those have on the sight line and whether those meet our ordinance for plantings in the right-of-way.
This house right here.
yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the intriguing part of the way that B Avenue establishes itself, so it's not a full intersection. So our code talks about site distance clearances of 25 feet from curb to curb at an intersection. So there's your site distance. This isn't an intersection, so it becomes more challenging. Now, from the perspective of a nuisance complaint or something like that, we could probably look at pursuing something of that nature. The design, obviously I wasn't here, but the design seems to be somewhat intentional, not only because of the geography of the land, but typically a shallow curve like that is put in as a traffic calming device, so that people are supposed to slow down when making or traversing that curve. Technically speaking, if the plantings are in the right of way, they're supposed to seek permission from the city. As is, we've had a few individuals in town take some liberties with that. We don't usually, unless we receive a complaint, go out and search them out, but we've got sunflowers at another intersection that are doing something similar. So we could address.
That's been addressed. Yeah. We appreciate it.
I want to stress what Chris just said too there, and it came out in one of the conversation emails that you have in your packets as well about the speed of motorists, because parking and eliminating parking also is going to impact the number of complaints we get regarding to speeding. You know, that was one of my concerns on 3rd Street in the Stonebrook area, because that's a nice straight road from that standpoint. And so we eliminated the parking, but we also added some 4-way stop signs where the 15th Ave, you know, where those come into play. There'll be controlled intersections from some of that. So that's, you know, a comment that I use frequently is, you know, we don't need 2 open lanes of traffic in a residential neighborhood to ensure safe mobility of fire trucks and ambulances. We need 1 from that perspective. This area is a little more challenging, obviously, when you think about, the first things I go through are snow plows and fire trucks. The biggest vehicles we're going to have operating those streets 95% of the time. We want the snow and ice cleared, and we want the fires put out from those. And so that's what I always lean to when I'm debating. I can get a squad car in a lot of places. We need to consider those vehicles with the plows and the time of day and the road conditions and all that kind of stuff too, to make sure they have passability from that standpoint. So I think it's important, you know, again, it seems to me that there's some people that are just frustrated that they have to stop and wait for another vehicle to come through so that they can take their turn and go through. And that is not a safety concern for me. That's actually a good thing, because you have to slow down, you have to stop, you have to wait, and then you get to go again.
Frankly, that's how the majority of our community is.
Yes.
I live on 2nd Avenue North, and
Yeah.
actually at my corner of 4th Street and 2nd Avenue, 4th Street's one width, and then at my house,
Yes.
it narrows.
Yes.
And, you know,
Yep.
you deal with it, and frankly, it does make it safer.
Yeah.
It does that very well on 5th Avenue.
Yeah, 5th Avenue is another one of those that, the other thing is, you know, some of the older houses have, you know, 1-stall garage and, you know, have to park on the street, their vehicles. But some of the newer neighborhoods with some of the larger streets, you've got the larger garages, and yet they're parking their vehicles on the street. You know, you've got a larger parking area with your driveway, and you've got a larger parking area in your garage. At some point, the street parking is designed for visitors and whatnot. So it, you know, it's some of their own making is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I think just to embellish on the curve, if you will, people will try to bend their car around that curve and they will park there. And it makes
Nice.
it really hard,
Mhm.
right? It isn't the speeding that goes on, there is some of that, there always will be. But it's the people who think they can bend their car around there when they're really not bending their car around, because you couldn't do that on that curve.
One part of it sticking out.
Yeah. So, you know, I just wanted to make sure that the voices of the neighborhood were considered as we looked at this.
And that voice is option 3, right, Deb?
That current, yes, the current thinking is option 3.
Thank you.
And I'll be very clear, that's probably not the voice of the property owners that are there. It's the people who are using that as the pass-through to get to their house further back.
What is the role of council on this resolution possibility here? Further clarification?
One more just comment for discussion with the team here. How awkward is it if we were to adopt option number 1 or 2 and not have no parking on both sides of the street at the curb, and then 6 months later we say, gee whiz, this really, it's not working, and come back and then make the call.
That's my normal answer right now as well for Stonebrook. As we go through, because as I've said, staff and the school and everybody has met and discussed the parking plan for the activities complex in the Stonebrook area. Yes, there's going to be congestion for events. Yes, there's going to be things, but we have thoughtfully considered it and put a proposal that we thought best address it. We're going to get some real life experience as it opens up and gets used.
Yes.
And then we will tweak from there. And this can be the same way, quite honestly. It's the joy of parking is it's a resolution and it's a one meeting event. It's not an ordinance change where I need a public hearing in 3 sessions. So we can.
We also don't want to, yank people from one side or the other.
Yeah, we can bring up, if we do it a certain way and it's not working, it's just another proposal and another council meeting, further discussion, and an adjustment's made from that standpoint. And especially if Eldon's not here to talk about putting the signs up and everything, from that standpoint, but that's.
Well, and the other thing that's going to change drastically in the next month is the lack of football games.
Yeah.
Of the middle school.
True. And we don't, right, yeah, fair. And we don't know, on the flip side of that, we don't know what that field might factor into, so this may be open for
Okay.
another set of discussions.
Parking is an easy discussion,
Yeah.
an easy change.
I would guess that on Magical Night, when there's big events at the community center,
Yeah.
that's, parking still gets used, for some of those kind of events, regardless of football.
So, based on Craig's thinking and the comment from the chief, and thanks for that, I think the best thing to do at this point is move resolution 6-19-2023B as written, which I just made a motion if I didn't state that quite clearly.
2023B, is there a second?
And by the way, this would be for the original proposal.
Yes.
I would second.
Is that clarified to everybody what we're talking about, which one?
It is.
Moving seconded to move forward with
The original.
the original 2023B.
Which is
The one on the screen.
Yes.
Correct.
If there are no further questions, I think we're ready to call the roll. Marcia?
Turler,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Engel,
Yes.
Herman,
Yep.
Rose.
Yes.
Resolution passes. You good with that, Doug?
Thank you.
Okay. We're on the resolution, second run. disposing of 2 pieces of property for the LBC. We have motion on that resolution. I'm sorry?
That's Mark. I think it's Mark.
Mark's house, okay.
Vivian's in the back.
So the Infinity game table was an additional game table. We have 2 of them. It's been in storage since we purchased it. The city of Clinton would like to purchase it from us.
Great.
The atomic air hockey table has taken a beating in the 3 years that we've been open, and so we've had to replace that unit. I will be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure if that's one doesn't just end up in a landfill. But we will try to take it rid of it as best we can and go from there.
Are we able to just do a no-bid sale of property?
To another public body.
Okay, great, thank you.
The Infinity game one, the one's got tons of board, chess. It was on the east end by the coffee counter.
What I told Matt is we would just sell it to them at our cost.
And that was the second one.
Move approval of resolution 9-5-2023A as presented.
Okay, Paul, is there a second?
I believe it's
Second, it's D.
2023.
Oh,
No, it's A.
Oh.
It is A, your resolution in your packet. I grabbed the wrong one when I went and scanned it. It's saved right on my computer.
I knew what I was doing.
It is. So,
Okay,
I meant to make that comment.
Motion by Paul at this point.
I'll second.
Okay, Dan.
And Marcia knows which one it is.
Okay. Motion on the floor to approve a resolution, and that needs a voice vote also, Marcia.
Herman,
Yes.
Turler,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Engel.
Yes.
That motion carries, that resolution. Next one, last one, is about the public hearing of proposed sale of former fire station, property located at 217 First Street. This is for setting a public hearing date.
In that resolution, it should say 6:30, not 5:30.
Well, the time, yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Yeah, so this is just setting the public hearing, this is not having a conversation. This is, okay. In that case, I would move approval of resolution 9-5-2023B with the noted time correction.
I'll second that.
Scott and Craig there. And if there are no further questions, that is a roll call vote. Ready, Marcia?
Engel,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Turler,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
That resolution passes. Next item is mayoral proclamation. I was asked by a veterans group in Cedar Rapids several months ago about recognizing Stand Down Day, and I think we'll start this process right now. I'll read the resolution. This is a resolution setting, get the right one here, recognizing the 17th annual 5-season Stand Down Day proclamation. Whereas Valor Incorporated, in partnership with the Cedar Rapids Metro Area Veterans Council, the Iowa City VA Medical Center, and the Lynn County Continuum of Care will hold Lynn County's 17th annual Stand Down for homeless and near homeless veterans and non-veterans. And whereas stand down is a term used in terms of war, in which exhausted combat units come off the battlefield to rest and recover in a place of safety. And whereas according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, first stand down was organized in 1988 by a group of Vietnam veterans and staged in San Diego. And whereas today, Stand Down also refers to a community-based program that assists homeless and near homeless veterans transitioning to community living by providing access to human service agencies, including benefits counseling, like Social Security and veterans, employment and training assistance, mental health treatment, and substance abuse counseling. And whereas Stand Downs have been used as an effective tool in reaching out to homeless veterans, reaching more than 200,000 veterans and their family members. Now, therefore, I, Thomas M. Weisler, Mayor of the City of Mount Vernon, do hereby proclaim September 5th, 2023 as the 17th annual 5-season Stand Down Day in the City of Mount Vernon, Iowa, and encourage residents to recognize the positive impacts of this event, to assist veterans, and to express gratitude to those who have served and continue to serve. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed seal of the city of Mount Vernon, Iowa, this 5th day of September 2023, and then on my signature. Anything else, comments, questions? Thanks for writing the proclamation, that's what I'd say. Motions for approval. Got an adjusted claims list this afternoon from Marcia. Any questions for her?
Just curious about hotel motel tax in the CDG, because so much of the CDG budget comes from there. That 21,592, is that a little low? I mean, it's coming back from where it was at COVID for sure, but just curious to know where that's landing. And maybe
No, not really. I mean,
We receive that each quarter of the year, and so we give that portion up to 50,000 to the CDG, and then the rest the city keeps.
So then that's pretty good.
yeah, that's good.
Because, okay, that was my only question, just remind me of that. Otherwise, I would move to approve the claims list if no one else has questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Stephanie Scott. I think we're ready to vote on that motion. Approve the claims list. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2 is discussion and consideration of the request for proposals for the downtown streetscape improvement plan. Council action is needed. It's been in the works for about 4 years, 5 years? I don't know.
Well, I've only been here 6 months,
Well,
but I've been writing it for the last few years.
It certainly looks like a good board.
Good job.
yes, it's
Yeah.
all put together. Any questions about the RFP? There was,
Only one. So when we begin receiving bids for this, for the streetscape as this is written here, I know that there are other options that we've discussed as a council to say we could do the streetscape by replacing all the sewage, the wiring, putting cement down, concrete versus a scraping of asphalt like we did on Palisades Road. Does this preclude us from still entertaining a scraping and just putting asphalt down?
No.
Okay.
So that's the easy answer, to be honest with you. That's the easy number to kind of come up with. What Lori's RFP does request the engineers to do is to price their proposal on a complete design of a downtown streetscape, and then from there, they will have to extrapolate individual items so that we could theoretically do nothing more than a mill and fill, like we've done on the rest of First, to taking individual items of the streetscape plan, benches, trash cans, whatever we want to do, and just doing those items along with a mill and fill, or the full-blown project. So you're always going to aim for the full project, and then from there we can, as long as they itemize the prices, which Lori has requested them to do, then we can kind of figure out what we want to do from there.
So if you look on page 5 under task force, design plans and specifications, we're asking for that full plan design, but then we're also asking for that limited implementation, which is kind of a hybrid plan. And then we're going down to the bare minimum of an overlay. So it gives you all those pieces.
Say that again, Lori. Where's that project
So if you go
elements?
to page 5,
I'm
then
there.
you go to phase 3, design plans and specifications, and then it says task 4.
Got it.
We want that full design plan, because we want to really see what that looks like, what that cost is going to look like.
And then
and then-
limited.
And then the options are a limited
Street overlay.
implementation design, which is kind of a hybrid between the two. And then we're asking for, I guess if you want to call it the Band-Aid, would be just the street overlay.
So Chris, how does the previous streetscape design that Ed Sauter did play into this bill?
I don't know that it does.
Okay.
So that design is probably
It's
12, 15 years,
2010.
yeah.
It's pretty
I know,
dated.
I just wondered if we're taking it all and a look at
I
where we
think
were with that and.
we probably reestablished design elements with the pocket park.
Okay.
So when we meet with engineering firms, have this conversation, that'll be one of the items that we discuss is, here is what we've started. So, for instance, the benches. I can tell you the benches are going to come from Liberty Ironworks because we've replaced about 6 of them on top of the pocket park since then. So that's a design element that is probably already established for them. And I do believe that the parameters have changed slightly from where we're at today from that original plan. The
I'm
original
okay
plan
with
is
that.
beautiful, but.
Yeah, I just, have a visual reference of it because it's been around for such a long time, so I
Yeah,
wanted to know.
But I think you make a good point that now that the south side, that pocket park is designed, if we went completely in some other direction, that would look out of place. One of them is gonna end up looking wonky.
I mean, the hope obviously is that we complement
Yeah,
all of them. Yeah, I would say probably the most challenging aspect, at least from the firm's perspective, would be the number of meetings that we've requested them to place in their proposal. What's it, 10?
10 plus,
Public meetings.
Yes.
Evening.
yeah, with stakeholders, with staff.
That's
council.
the key.
yeah.
Well, and
It's
I,
important.
on that same note, if you look at like the project team requirements, number 12, experience working with businesses and phasing construction to, minimize impact on the businesses up there. And we've talked about that several times, but just,
Yeah.
making sure that we just don't do a full shutdown
Yes, and it is
doing
spelled
what we
out
can
in this
to help.
RFP
Yeah.
with that one.
I mean, that's probably the most key component of this study, is can we phase, how do we phase, what does that look like, and how does that affect the businesses? If we can't phase and we have to do, the full shot, then the conversation changes from less to do with money and more to do with how are we going to affect individual businesses? Because, albeit we haven't signed an agreement with them yet, we still have Highway 1
Yeah.
and that phase that is hanging out there, so there'll be a lot to juggle.
Yep.
I think the timing of doing this RFP, giving them a year to complete the project and do the meetings is probably spot on. By then, we should have a fairly good handle on what the DOT's planning to do on Highway 1.
So what's our next step? Just to bless this and say get it out?
So if the council approves, then Lori will distribute tomorrow. There's already been a few firms that have hounded her. I'm pretty sure if they could get through the door, they'd be standing in her office right now waiting for this to be released. But there are a number of firms, not only in Iowa, but probably the upper Midwest that would be interested.
Then I would move to approve the RFP as written and to disseminate it.
Oh, second.
Moving seconded to move forward with the RFP as presented. One item I was going to mention was the North Alley. Are there 2 access points off the alley? Can we do the whole alley, I guess? So aren't there a couple access points to the...
So the north alley is a little bit more challenging than the south alley in the fact that there is a door that be the West business still utilizes off the alley, and Stores still uses the alley for deliveries as well, so.
Everyone downtown uses that.
Yeah, so wrapping that into,
Yeah.
the other point to that is the local has established quite an outdoor footprint on the backside, so we want to take that into account as well. There's an open lot.
But regardless,
Jim,
I'm
I
glad to see
believe
that
Jim
the
owns-
North Alley is in there.
Yeah, oh, yeah, at least
Consideration,
it's not
yeah.
So, yeah, there will be probably a lot of conversation that happens.
Just consider that.
There's a lot.
Yeah. It's moved and seconded to move forward with the RFP, the streetscape project. Any further questions or discussion? It's a voice vote. All in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to reports. Mayor's report, 2 items I was going to add. I was holding off some time for the new city website before putting a mayor's note on the website every month or so. I'm going to put one on this month, and rather than wait, I think there was a
And it's
campaign promise
roll
about a
out
year and a half
next
ago.
month.
Yeah. Since there's another election coming up, I thought I'd better follow through on that one. That's happening. Also, television media from Cedar Rapids have been inquiring with regard to, they've obviously been fed some information about where we're at as a community on flag policy. And a couple of us have gotten information about that, and I just want to let you know about that, number one. Just recognize where it's coming from, too. And third thing, I guess, is to ask Chris to be our spokesperson for that, so that I don't tell any lies or make any mistakes or misconstrue what we've done. So if everybody is okay with that, that is the way we're going to go. And that doesn't mean that you won't be probably contacted as well, but that's the direction that I think we've been going and the direction I went to today. So.
I do want to clarify that I have spoken with the individual. I did inform him that I am happy to discuss the policy, how we've gotten here, and any potential legal issues that we've undergone so far. I will not discuss the individual policy itself as far as the causes that were chosen by the council. That's not my job, and as I explained to them, what gets chosen to actually be recognized is solely with the city council. So I have no problem meeting on camera for that interview, but I just did want to make a point. If you do hear me say, answer that question, that is why I feel like if it goes into that policy, that's where your job is and not mine. So, fair.
Thanks for representing us and accurately and appropriately. Thank you. Any council reports? Committee reports?
Just want to make a note in terms of CDG that the GAMSA award application was delivered, and there was a ton of work done on that. We're really proud of it. Also, Main Street assessment and accreditation process is what we're going through on, and September 21st, representatives from Main Street at a larger level are going to be here in town. So several of us are taking part in it.
Just signed a Main Street grant for a proposed new business next door to us too, so hopefully that grant process will be successful.
Excellent.
So,
Great.
anything else? The administrator's report? You've got 4 items.
I did make a note. I know that Main Street will be here on the 21st. The Iowa League of Cities meeting will be in Cedar Rapids this year. It's probably the closest that it'll be in a while. So you do not have to attend the full conference if you do not want to. There is a banquet on Thursday night. Typically, there's a vendor appreciation meeting held on Wednesday. If you want to attend the full conference, just let me know. We can sign you up and get that for you. And then just let us know if you want a partial or full attendance, or if you just want to go to the Thursday evening event. And then, of course, I will be at the ICMA National Conference at the end of this month. I always forewarn you, I drive down there. It's the same cost of flying. I don't like to fly, so just so you know, I will typically drive.
And where's it at? I'm sorry.
Austin. That's why everybody looks at me like I'm nuts. But I did fly to Portland because I wasn't driving through the mountains in October. But we haven't ruled out. I signed up to go to this. I haven't ruled out trying to get Laura to go to. There's scholarships available through the Iowa League for the cost of the actual conference, and then the question mark will be if we can find a hotel. I originally thought she was going to be in the middle of clerk school at this time, so I didn't want to overwhelm her, and the schedule didn't. So now I'm getting a lot of flack from my cohorts in other communities saying, you know, I get to pick and choose when I bring it or not, so. And then for anybody that's interested, just a clarification on what's going on the west side of our building. So we did remove that tree. We were going to remove that tree anyway before anybody asked that question. There is a flower box that will be a planter basically that is going to be poured in the center, and there will be a flagpole that will bookend either side of that planter box. The flagpole that is newly ordered is about 5 feet taller, I believe,
Correct.
than the existing flagpole. That's where the U.S. and state flag will go. That'll be closest to the street, and then the city recognized flags will be closer to that door. There is cameras on the building that will be properly lit, so, and the flagpoles have an interior locking system, so the city's really gotta go through some trouble in order to vandalize anything. If they do, they'll be candidly on camera, so.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions of Chris?
Thanks for warning.
Yeah, just a quick question. I think I saw that Doug was reviewing flag designs or something. Is it you?
Doug was failing, actually.
I
Sorry, we shifted that
Your
a little.
annual review needs to be scheduled.
He doesn't fail very often.
Well, so here's the.
I initiated the process.
He did order the flagpole, and to his credit, I would be in the same boat. There are multiple versions of flags,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
and neither he nor I are probably well suited at.
You may want to point out Cedar Rapids, frankly, since they have the same policy with the same flags.
That's what I did.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm on it.
Lori just stepped in and
Oh,
said,
oh, Email them back and forth.
Well, thank you.
So we did what most intelligent leaders do, they give it to the person that's probably best suited to do it.
Well done.
Aw,
So we are
that's nice.
getting to that point. I will forewarn everybody, by the time that the flagpoles get installed and everything is done, it'll be closer to the end of October, most likely.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So,
I've told people to do calendar for years, but whatever we work out, we'll work on that.
So on that note, I would ask that the mayor do the proclamations of recognition each month, whether there's a flagpole or not.
That's, yes.
Good
that'd be
request,
yeah, yeah.
Paul. I think that's a good
Thank
idea.
you.
On the League of Cities, I'm going to attend Thursday and Friday, except for a couple hours, and I'm coming back for luncheon of the meeting, if I remember correctly, with Joe and staff. Anything else that needs to come before this meeting? Staff challenged me to have an efficient meeting, so hopefully this is an efficient meeting. So we are adjourned. Thank you very much.